Ooh, it's deep.
Oh, man. Brought
She
it
robbed
back.
it. She robbed it.
She robbed him. That's why they're a good team. They play defense, too.
Yeah. Sooner softball, man, they did it. They did it. I caught the bug a little bit late. I didn't see them until their World Series kind of part, and then I just learned a whole bunch of information. I didn't realize they were just rolling everybody the entire year.
They were pretty well dominated. What, 56-2? I think
Yeah, they
it
only
was.
lost 2 games all season. They had a run differential of, 467?
I think they started at 36-0. Somewhere along the line, maybe they got a little tired or they were partying too much.
How do you like the idea of you win it last year, you come back this year, no one can even hold your trunks?
Well, it's funny how you win it last year and then you got better.
Right. Some fun facts. 467 is a run differential on the season. 0.8 is the team ERA. That's pretty incredible. Can you imagine 0.8? Just no teams, you just don't even get to score a run most of the time. They shutting everybody out.
I had looked that up because I thought, are they just offensively dominated? I guess it is pretty nice that you go out and pitch. I could probably relax when I know that we're going to hit at least 2 bombs.
Well,
per
that's
game.
the worst part about it. It's that snowball effect. If you're winning by 8 or 9 runs, let's be honest. You're probably going to.
You're not trying to, maybe not trying to do anything too fancy, but their pitchers, I looked at that, they're awfully good. They're still the best in the country. Their defense is dominating, so it is literally an all-around game. Guess what? They're ranked 113th though. They do have a downside.
Really? What's that?
Stolen bases.
Oh, man. Well, what are you stealing bases for when you're up 18 every game?
You're the third base coach, and you're going, okay, we're going to hit 153 bombs. Nah, we're just going to stay on first.
Yeah, that left fielder, she's got a pretty good story. I mean, I would think that she's going to play for the Olympics or something, don't you
I would
figure?
think so, and I think she'll probably play pro.
There was this line in this article from sportingnews.com. I saw her line score is 497 was her batting average, 634, what's that, her slugging percentage, and 1.163. What is that number referring to? Do you see that anywhere? I don't see that.
I'm not seeing it.
That's kind of crazy, though. 497. Could you imagine 1 out of 2 times? Like, coming from a baseball background, to have someone that hit 497 on your team, that's incredible.
Well, she hit, I think it was 34 home runs. She showed, I think it was 155 at bats. Now, she walked 54 times. So 25% of the time, they put her on.
That's crazy, though. Slugging percentage through the roof, huge power. I wonder, she said in her little post-game speech, they interviewed her. She was sad, obviously. Why wouldn't you be? You're killing it. 2 championships in a row.
Yeah.
Best hitter in the league by far, it seems like. And they have a couple other girls that are no slouches, don't get me wrong. But why wouldn't you be thinking, I can't wait to join the – I haven't got that phone call yet, but let me plug it here on ESPN, you know.
I'm looking for an Olympic spot.
I would like a phone call. I'm just saying.
When you do look at the other side, I think it was Jennings had 29 bombs and Lyons had 22. They had 5 players over 10 home runs.
That's
so
a lot of power.
A lot of other contributions.
I mean, that's like slow pitch softball numbers, though, really. When you're thinking about power, slugging percentage.
153 in, I believe, 60 games.
Batting averages through the roof. That's insane. That's like complete dominance. Now, the pitchers, too. I mean, dude, 0.8 ERA.
Under a point ERA, you're doing pretty good.
You kind of wonder that snowball effect that we were talking about. Are all these games kind of blowouts? So they got more runs because the other teams weren't playing as hard. They're all down in the dumps because they're losing by so much. So now all of a sudden they're not hitting. Kudos to that pitcher for staying locked in. When you're up by 10 or 12 runs, any pitcher that comes in, if you got a big lead like that, it's pretty easy to get a little slouchy. I mean, that coach kept everybody on track because how many games I've played in where when you had a big stretch, when you're up by 10 or 15 runs, always got a couple errors. This happens. You end up giving up 4 or 5 runs in the last inning. Always something like that.
Let it get away from you.
Yeah, but you still win. But
they had 36 shutouts,
yeah.
2 losses. So the focus, I think, was there. And then, I'm sure the coach pushes that. We want to win it again.
I wonder if you'll see like some type of a dynasty in a sense. You know how you've got your Dukes, you've got your North Carolinas, you've got these top-ranked teams that always get plugged. Or if you go to the football world, Alabama, all these big schools get the recruits because they're winning. You just can't imagine that that's going to go away for this ball club either.
I wouldn't think so. And I was kind of looking at some stats and did not realize what an impressive player she was, and she redshirted her freshman year. So they obviously must be reloading.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can't imagine. I don't know. Do you think that a player like that in the near future is going to be getting paid to play in a much higher level? You've got these new rules in college now where athletes are going to be able to get paid.
Well, I think the NIL rule is going to, I would think it's going to have to start coming into effect on not just maybe the basketball or the football, but the softball and other sports.
Well, when you start winning national championships, don't get me wrong, I don't think the whole softball programs throughout the whole entire United States as a whole is going to be getting paid big money. But if you got a face like that that's going to go play Olympics, there's going to be some girls coming out of there that are really going to be able to make big bucks, because your face is going to be pretty known if you're jacking the ball like that. And if they make a run, so imagine, I'm not saying they haven't already, right? You've got 2 seasons back to back, but if they even get in the running for a possible repeat, you got to think that going to Oklahoma recruiting-wise is going to be a completely different thing than going to another school, because now all of a sudden you're going to be able to start negotiating some money things. If you're able to go to a school where you're going to get paid as opposed to going somewhere else and maybe just be in the tournament, you're going to get paid to play if you go to Oklahoma if they keep staying in the top 2-3.
Well, I love the great state of Oklahoma, but there must have been some lure there because she's from Hawaii. So that had to be a big culture shock.
I wonder if that was an easy transition because, you go from Hawaii, I would imagine you live on the beach, you're close by, that's a big part of your culture, to then go to Middle America and the Dust Bowl or something,
It might be a whole lot easier to create that or to recruit that girl from Norman to come to Hawaii. But for her, what are you going to offer me? I've done it all.
Right.
I live here.
Well, you're chasing those rings.
Yeah,
chasing
right.
those rings and trophies. It'll bring you there.
And then to think that she came there and redshirted her freshman year, and I don't know if that was an injury or you would have thought she could have stepped right in and played, but maybe I remember back, they've had some other big bombers too.
Well, my point with that NIL stuff is it's kind of, I feel like the gap in other schools or other sporting events is going to create some pretty crazy recruiting, because
it scares me a little bit. Sometimes you like to see that player from a small school that does well in a big tournament, and you bring in that Cinderella deal. You're not gonna. I don't think you're gonna see that as much anymore. I hope it works.
Well, think about it from a school's perspective, right? If you or football, right? Top 20, 30 teams, probably all those players have an opportunity to make some money in that setting. But in softball, I would imagine that getting paid to play is probably not in your cards for what most people would imagine. You're probably going to be paying the football programs, right? Mm-hmm. So in that scenario, the gap between Oklahoma players getting played versus some other school in, say, Illinois, I just feel as though if you've got Olympic-style athletes on your team, we can make some money off that if I advertise there, right?
Oh, I think so. It could get down to maybe you've got a nice rental car or nice apartment, nice condo.
Right. I'm just saying, what will that gap be on these second and third level sports that aren't the big money makers in the schools, that all of a sudden some of these particular places like your Oklahoma are going to be able to pay these players? It may be pretty difficult to pull the top recruits away from these schools.
It's going to be really hard. Are you going to sell, hometown girl, we want you to stay here? And she's like, I can go get a ring. I can go get a nice condo. I don't know what's going to happen. It'll be interesting. Are
there any rules that you heard of like adjustments or anything that they're going to be making, or is more or less this rule kind of what?
The NIL, I got to tell you, I'm not a big fan. It remains to be seen how that's going to work out, but I just think it's going to be a huge distraction.
Well, so these kids, from what I understand, they actually have access to the money, or is there any limitations? Do you know anything about that?
Well, I know the father of a kid that I think the school was a little bit afraid that he was going to go somewhere else, and the coach said, check your bank account. They had made a poster, a banner.
No name drops.
No name drops, but it was. It was a bulletin, big board. You know, ones they have on the streets for advertising.
Right.
They were promoting the university, but he got paid for them utilizing his image.
It's going to be kind of weird to see that too, because local towns are probably going to. It's just like, you know, if you're in St. Louis, a local team, the Cardinals, we're trying to sell Cardinals merchandise, right? I just can't imagine that local businesses aren't going to be jumping all over it because, you know, that's the city team. You know what I mean?
Right.
So local businesses are going to be trying to pay players, all these different things. Come to do this dealership signing, and we'll give you $20,000. We've got some guaranteed setups. I just think it's a slippery slope because I tell you what, if you would have gave me $20,000 in college, I'd show you a big party. I'll show you a good time. Let me get all my friends together.
Yeah, I have a big concern about it. I mean, I understand their point of these kids need to, you know, be able to eat right. They need to be able to have an opportunity to make money. But I'm just concerned where that's going to create some big issues.
Yeah, I wonder why the rules weren't set in place, some kind of a capacity of like, we're going to make sure you don't have any money coming out of your pocket. You get maybe a siphon. This money is your money. Maybe they come up with some pool that will almost like a 401k setup, but more of a short term, make something just generally for these college kids. But is there no way to like throw it in investment type of a portfolio to where these kids can get the money afterwards, but you're not rolling around with $100,000 in your bank account as an 18-year-old trying to like party? You know what I mean? It's going to be a huge distraction.
I saw an article that a big-time quarterback was, I want to say he was going to be driving a Bentley. Now, if you're his teammate and you're, you know, what do you think about that? So there should be something that says everybody gets a little bit, but then the argument is, well, you got free school.
Yeah, and I don't know that I have a problem with the car thing. I don't know if I have a problem with that. But you give a bunch of kids money that are close by drugs and all those kinds of things, you can't tell me that stuff's not going to happen.
It's going to be
you got more money.
tempting.
Yeah, you got a lot of money. All of a sudden, you meet a couple characters that were a good time, and there's a lot of bad scenarios that come from having way too much cash on hand in a time when you're just trying to party. And
You can go hang out with the guy that has a full ride. I can't touch any of it. Well, the dude's got a Bentley.
Yeah, but you know, it's going to be a challenge for these coaches almost more than anything, isn't it? How are you going to manage all these people getting paid more than you?
You're going to have an 18-year-old kid that says, "What do you got for me?"
Yeah, and
full ride, got that.
Yeah,
it's got to be more.
It's going to be a crazy thing too, and over the years you're going to see that be a massive issue because schools are not only going to have to just, our leverage isn't a full ride now. Our leverage is, you know,
full ride plus.
Can we pay for this? Can we do this? Now, one benefit would truly be is if there was more of a team share involved to where. Can we not get all these kids a full ride? I mean, do we really need every single kid on the team when the school makes how many hundreds of millions of dollars off our season? Is there a reason why all of them don't have a full ride?
I totally agree with that. I also had talked to a guy that was at a school and they do he creates the money, right?
Right.
And he said, I had a player that if I could have put his name on jerseys, I probably could have paid for the program. And he couldn't do that at the time.
Right.
So if you're going to do that, then there has to be a little bit of help, you know, down the road. And that kid wouldn't have made any money, so he's going to make some,
Time will tell. Hopefully,
not a fan.
Hopefully, not everyone gets in trouble and makes some drastic changes have to occur, and maybe some smart coaches end up figuring out a way to manage it a little bit better, and suggestions come quickly rather than later.
You know, I hope so, but. You know, I'm a big sports fan, and I've seen my teams lose players over money, and it's kind of disappointing.
It's going to be weird turning that scenario into the college level, isn't it? That's going to be nuts. It'd be crazy to see.
We're only in year one.